Who do you say Jesus is? It's the question to ponder today. And I'd ask you to take it with you when we leave this place and think about it this week. Who do you say Jesus is? I remember being in school, and it's been a couple of years. Perhaps you do too. When the teacher assigned homework, and I will be honest, there was an occasion or two when I didn't quite get all the homework done the night before. So when the teacher would come and walk in front of us, and we were in history or geography or whatever it was, and was going to ask a question and did ask a question, and then I knew I wasn't ready. I was like, man, I hope she doesn't call me today. I am in so much trouble. I do not have a clue what the answer is. I used to go like this, kind of like, hopefully the teacher won't see me and she'll see somebody else who's bright and smiling and just did all their homework and be ready to go. Don't you hate that feeling? Clammy hands, dry mouth. Oh man, I hope she doesn't call on me. I do not want to be embarrassed. I do not want that judgment of my classmates on me that I didn't do my work. I just didn't care for it at all. Well, maybe in that question of who is Jesus, if you were asked that today or I were asked, maybe that's a possible response. And I hope we could do something about that today. I hope we could. So I would ask you, as far as who Jesus is, and we proclaim him every Sunday, Lord, Messiah, Master, a friend. We proclaim him born of Mary. We say it in the creed every day. And we can recite that from memory with our eyes shut or when we wake up or when we head off at night. We know who Jesus is in our heads. Who is he in your heart? Who is he to you day in and day out? Do your actions that you live every week match up to the words that we say here on Sunday? That Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of the living God. In our day and an age, and for many of us, and myself included, because I'm chewing on this as well. Jesus is a pretty good man, fine man. He's a great man. He sets the bar very high for us in our daily life. We can't quite attain to that. We know that. Through the Holy Spirit, he moves us to do things from time to time. So do our actions always match up to our words when it comes to Jesus? And I admit that it doesn't always work that way for me. And this is not supposed to be a sermon that's a guilt trip, okay? That's not about that. We've had our confession this morning. We'll have it again next week. And we all will fall short of the glory of God. St. Paul makes that very clear to us. So I'm not trying to make you squirm here this morning in that regard. I'm trying to do is get each of you and myself to think about who Jesus is in terms of our words, my mouth and your mouth. Not the ones written for us. Not the theological ones that have been thought and tested over the centuries. But if you're talking to a neighbor who goes, why in the world do you get up on Sunday morning and get dressed and take off and go over there to St. John's and show up at church at 9:30 on Sunday morning? What is it about this guy, Jesus, that you know that makes a difference in your life? That's what I want to try and have us get to today. What is it about Jesus that makes you follow him? Would you stake your life on his words? There are those in this world today who are losing their life for the sake of the words of saying who Jesus is to them. He was crucified under Pontius Pilate. He died. He rose again on the third day. Who is Jesus? And like with our young people, it's a great mystery. These aren't easy words to come by when we talk about perhaps a restaurant that we like to go to or a recipe that we found or some new clothes. It's easy to talk about those. Hey, check out my new car. It's got GPS and it's got a phone that'll work voice activated and it'll do millions more things than I can even figure out. We can talk about those things. How do we talk about Jesus to the people that we live with each day? So I'm going to try to do this in my own words. And I hope that you will practice your words through the week. To me, Jesus is God's way to know who God is. He sent somebody on this earth to walk, Jesus, to walk so that we would know a little bit more about God. Sometimes he seems so far away. He asks us to be ready. And that's the purpose of this message, to be ready with a testimony of our heart to anybody who asks at any time. And I admit that's not easy to do. I believe God sent us Jesus so that he would understand, we would understand that he gets what it means to be human. When we are frustrated, And when we are broken to the point we can't even pull ourselves up off the floor, there are those moments. I think he sent us, Jesus, to reveal God's true heart. The one that breaks when depression sets in and a really talented actor at 63 years of age takes his own life. I think his heart was broken over that. Or a heart that gets really mad and upset when there's a young guy that's shot. And it wasn't right that he was shot, but the response is even worse, that we take out more violence on one another in the community, day after day, night after night, even when we start out praying. That's why we say the confession. We don't always do the things we want to do as human people. Sometimes we don't. I think God's heart aches when there is not peace in the land that we call holy, the place where he lived and reigned, the Holy Land in Jerusalem, where that land that is not holy knows no peace. In fact, incredible strife and unsafety and tensions between two people who just cannot live together. The Jesus that I understand is the one that isn't always safe, and he does make me squirm sometimes. He makes me think deeply and hard about what I do or what I don't do. He is the one, to me, that tears down walls of differences between people, of division. He just smashes them. He takes a wall like this and he turns it this way and he makes it into a table, like this table here. That's what he wishes for our people, for us as his people. And that's why he wants us to be able to speak about him to others. I think he wants us to share. Because when God spun the world into existence and created everything, he said, there's plenty here for everybody. But we keep doing things that aren't too smart sometimes. Even with our cars, I've thought about this. And I drove here this morning. I'm pretty sure most of you did. I don't think Neil did. He probably walked. Maybe Lois did. There's a few of you. But in your car, I thought about that. It's still the same car that we've had for 100-some years, that engine. If we were to shut the garage door, you know what would happen in there. It'd be deadly in a couple of minutes. And we drive our cars all over, millions and billions of us in the world. And God gave us all this air, but I wonder, is there enough of it when there's so many cars doing so many things to the environment? I wonder about that. And isn't there another way, as smart as our kids are, as smart as our institutions of higher learning are, can somebody figure out a way to get around that isn't so harmful to the air that God gave us to breathe? It's the only air we've got. There isn't any other. I think he sent Jesus to ask questions like that, the hard ones, that it isn't necessarily the easiest way in life, but it's the best way when it comes in terms of how we care for each other and all that God gave us. I think Jesus came that we might, instead of caving into the demons of this world, of which there are many, and I have mine, and I'm pretty sure if you're honest, you have a couple lurking around from time to time inside of you as well, that Jesus came to toss them out, to do away with them, to overcome them by his ways. I think he came so that we would understand a really simple formula, that everybody from the 1-year-old here to the 100-year-old, that love is more powerful than hate. Isn't that simple? And isn't that true? But how come it's so doggone hard to live it day in and day out as a community of people in this world? I think Jesus shows us that God's love, and I'm borrowing this one, but the way, the truth, and the life, I like those words. I love the words on Wednesday night that we say, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. That's who Jesus is to me. That light that shines in the darkness when there's nothing else, like a little candle in the night. It will not go away. And I fall short. I know that we do, as I had said. So this isn't about feeling bad about it. It's about knowing who we are and knowing that through Christ, we can do things that we couldn't do otherwise. Doesn't mean we're all going to be superstars, I hope. Wouldn't want that. I wouldn't wish that on you. But it means that we're each made to contribute in ways that are powerful, to be a lot more than we are as a world today, if we're able to say who Jesus is for us. And when I look at my life and you look at yours, aware that the world has more messes than we could even cover this morning. They just keep popping up, don't they? There are messes everywhere. That I have hope in my heart because God's ways are more than the ways of the world. And I'm asking you with me then to look at this week and answering who this question is of who Jesus is to you. Who do you say that he is in your words, in your deeds, in your actions, when you're at work, when you're dealing with your bank account, when you're dealing with all that God has given you, all your possessions, your very time, the time that he gives you every week, so generously, 168 hours every week he gives us. It's yours, free. You didn't do anything to earn that or get it. It's your gift. How will you live it? That your hopes and your dreams and your realities each day could look through the lens of Christ as you speak from your heart who he is to you and share with others. And by the way, this is what the world hungers for, in my opinion. They're not looking for doctrinal differences between what's a Lutheran or a Catholic or a Methodist or an E-Free or an unaffiliated. I think it's a real turnoff to many people. I think people want to know what Jesus is to you and to me and why he makes a difference. Straight up in your words, simple. You don't have to get out the 95 Theses. You don't have to get out the Book of Concord. We can do that another day. Just straight up and simple. Who is Jesus to you? He is more powerful. His light does shine in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. So I ask you today to be bold and help me to be bold with mine, that we might share our faith with others. For God is the God of power and possibility, and not the God of weakness or doubt. Not that we don't have our doubts, but he shall overcome. His ways are more powerful. May God bless and keep you in his holy name as you develop your words to say, who is Jesus to you? Amen.